So here's the story. This is the Belle Isle Memorial Bike Rack. It's a sculpted bike rack to honor the POWs of the Civil War Belle Isle prison camp, one of the most notorious prison camps of that war. It also provides a much-needed utility in the park today, bicycle parking. It's an active memorial. So the Belle Isle Memorial Bike Rack was a project I used in my service learning class at VCU. My class is a first-year seminar, and I use projects such as this to get people to the park, to think about helping in some way, to think about how activity helps learning, and just to discover Richmond in some way. A couple years ago, at the end of the semester, we pitched to the park system the idea of a memorial bike rack. The shape is modeled on the Sibley tents provided for the prisoners in the camp. 12 feet tall and 18 feet across at the base, these tents were prominent features of the early prison camp. As the Civil War raged, living conditions on Belle Isle deteriorated. Tents degraded, shelter disappeared. And exposure, they contributed to the deaths of thousands of prisoners. Ralph White, the park manager at the time, really liked the idea and gave us the go-ahead, but then he retired. While a new manager was hired, I used the project in my class. It progressed as we learned how to make it, what materials needed to be gotten, who to supply it, fabricate it, assemble it. It was great. The Belle Isle Memorial Bike Rack was installed December 6, 2014. 3 months later, it was ripped down by some assholes and tossed in the James River. So here's my idea. I'd like your support to build a series of these types of racks to interpret the Civil War prison camp on Belle Isle. I'd like to get them installed before the 2015 UCI Road World Championships in September. The series will be a collaboration between artists, the park system, and sponsors, and these crude images I'm about to show you represent just working designs. 4 bike racks will make the series, one to represent each year the prison camp operated on Belle Isle. That's 1862 to 1865. The first one will be a model of a Sibley tent, 12 feet tall and 18 feet wide at the base. A 1.5 foot diameter center ring at the top is supported by 8 legs. Now after this, each bike rack, after the first rack, is successively more broken or degraded. 1863 has a full kink, 1864 is a mess, and 1865 folds in on itself. In series, this illustrates the worsening conditions of the camp and of the prisoners. 1865, the final iteration, is the most recognizable as a bike rack. The top center ring will have collapsed in to the point of being on the ground in the center of the wide base, offering many places along its legs, which are now ribs really, to secure a bike. Signage will explain each bike rack using diaries and letters and official reports to talk about the real conditions of the camp for a particular year. 2 additional signs, one at the Lee Bridge Walkway Overlook and one at the Bike Skills Park, will explain the series and list sponsors. So my plan for getting this done is to iterate the process of making the memorial bike rack, with some modifications, of course. Like the memorial bike rack, the Interpretive series will be assembled on Belle Isle. It'll be assembled in that big iron shelter there for the remains of the Old Dominion Nail Factory and Manufactory. The materials will be moved to that warehouse, and the area of each rack in the series will be surveyed, and the path for moving the pieces policed for impediments. Got to get them from the warehouse to where they're going to be. Under the warehouse roof, the series will be laid out, put together generally, and outside the bases will be secured with concrete. The pieces will then be finished, forms completed, and then moved from the warehouse to location and secured to a base. At the conclusion of the installation, some sort of dedication. Now, design modifications involve more concrete and improve the structures. Some of the details now emphasize more its function as a bike rack, and discoveries from local archives continue to provide insight into the prisoners' lives. All right, so the series needs $24,000 to complete. This amount estimates foreseeables and reasonable fluctuations. Support and donations to the project are to the Friends of the James River Park System, which is a 501c3 nonprofit entity. This project is partnered with them, so support and donations are tax deductible. Any amount achieved above this $24,000 goal will go to the Friends of the James River Park System for other projects at their discretion. I have a working budget if you want to see it, but essentially the money is used for materials, manufacturing, fabrication, and signage. There are static costs like how much metal costs, and dynamic things like renting equipment and talent, but everything will be locally sourced, contracted, and engaged. And that's pretty much it. I need $24,000 to install a series of bike racks which interpret the experience of the prison camp on Belle Isle, providing an active memorial to prisoners incarcerated in there. I think this is a good project to support Richmond and the biking community to install before the 2015 UCI Road World Championship to show the world something else of Richmond. I invite any donation or support for this project. If you can't donate money, you can support it in other ways, mostly letting people know about it and get people to view this and to read about it and to participate in some sort of way.